Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Professional Brand webinar. You should have already watched part 1 of this webinar series before viewing this one. My name is Natasha Munasinghe and I'm the CEO of a training and education organization called Frank. I also was formerly an international student. I came to Australia to study law at university. In this webinar, you're going to learn how to get into action using your professional brand. There are so many things you can do to help you stand out and be noticed by employers. So let's get started. In this webinar in part 1, we will cover what I call the 5 buckets, or the 5 different categories of actions we can take. In part 2, you will set 3 goals or actions to take for yourself in the next 6 months. Now, you are aware of your skills, your values, and your passions from the previous webinar, webinar 1. The next step is to demonstrate that to the world and to your future employers. You cannot rely on them to come to you. Our philosophy at Frank is that we have to go out there and create opportunities for ourselves. Being accountable and taking ownership is actually really rewarding, but it does take some effort on your part. The 5 buckets refer to 5 different categories of actions we can take. The reason there are 5 is that we can't do all these things because we don't have the time. So we have to find which bucket we like the most. Now, let's go through these 5 buckets. They are writing and text, video and audio, face-to-face, social media, and support and advice. I will go through each of these one by one, and you will become very clear about it. As I go through each bucket, think about which one you're most comfortable with or the one that excites you the most. Just think about choosing one for now. So, part 1 of the webinar, let's cover and go through each of these buckets one by one. Bucket 1 is about writing and text. Remember, when you're looking to promote and market your professional brand, we actually need other people to see us and understand what we do and our expertise, and most importantly, how we can create value for them. The writing bucket is all about standing out through publishing articles and written works. Let's look at some ways we can do this. So, where can you write? Maybe you can write articles for campus, faculty newsletters, blogs or websites. Or you can think about writing an article for a general blog or website, and it could be related to something you're studying. You might also think about creating a personal website or blog, and a great site to use is called medium.com. You can really create a great professional brand using this website. You might also think about creating articles on LinkedIn, or you might write an article for your professional industry association, and maybe that article could be from a student point of view. Now, when it comes to writing, what do you actually write about? Well, you can write about subjects within your degree or studies. So here's an example I put together as a bit of a headline. 10 things I have learned from my first year of accounting. Or you could write an article that's unrelated to what you're studying. So here's another example of a headline. My experience as an international student in Sydney or in Newcastle, for example, and you can talk about your personal experiences. Both of these topics and types of topics are valid. Now, what happens after you write? If you spend your time and effort writing an article, but you don't promote it, then it's unlikely to get noticed. And you really don't want to waste your hard work. So for whatever article or blog post you write up, make sure potential employers actually have a chance to see it. Now you can do this through things like adding the link of the article to a resume, copying the link to a LinkedIn profile, which is really probably the most effective way, or speaking about what you've written about during job interviews or professional situations. So that was bucket 1. Bucket 2 is on video and audio, and it's all the actions you can take using video and audio tools. Now here are some ways you can do that to really promote your professional brand. You might create a YouTube channel or create mini videos using your smartphone about degree-related information. For example, it could be a video series on accounting for non-accountants or accounting in everyday life. It could also be something that has completely nothing to do with what you're studying, a topic of interest or a hobby or a passion. You might also think about creating a video log or a vlog, which catalogs something you'd like to talk about. There are some examples of students who have done this and done it well. Their vlog, for instance, is about their experience and life at university. If you want an example or you want some inspiration of how to do this, check out the vlog of Anne-Marie Chase on YouTube. You'll see what she does, and you'll see also how many followers she has. The third thing you might want to consider is creating a short video summary for yourself, or a video CV, and adding that to your LinkedIn profile in the summary part of your LinkedIn profile. So on screen, I've showed you an example of this. Now, it doesn't have to be a super fancy video, but it should be professional and really highlight your strengths. Also, it can only be 2 to 3 minutes long. It doesn't have to be that long. Now, the fourth and final tips are really around, one is around preparing for video interviews. More and more companies are now hiring employees through video interviews. Imagine Skyping yourself and answering some questions to yourself. This is kind of like what a video interview is like. Set yourself up and prepare to be interviewed this way. The best way to practice is to really film yourself answering some questions just using your phone, and then replay the recording to see how you can improve. Pay specific attention to your body language, as this is very important in a video interview. The final tip is to create a podcast. A podcast is kind of like a personal online radio channel. It's very easy to set up, and you can talk by yourself about interesting topics, or you can even interview people on your podcast. Now, if video or audio is something you're passionate about or even curious about, I definitely encourage you to give this a go. There is so much content you can create using just your smartphone, and there are lots of free tools online to help you create very professional looking videos and podcasts. Let's kick on to bucket 3, the face-to-face bucket. Bucket 3 is all the actions you can take in person and working directly with people. So let's see some actions we can take. 1, you might think about attending and looking for networking events, both at the general career-related events and just networking events within your organization or current workplace. You might want to look for mentors and people who can support you at these events. If you're feeling nervous about networking, don't worry. Many people feel this way, including myself. The nerves really do get better with practice. If you're thinking of, where would I find networking events? A really great site to start looking is called meetup.com. Here's a bit of a visual of what that site looks like. The second thing you might want to do is to join a professional industry association. This is another great place to meet people. A professional industry association, in case you may not know, is a membership organization that you need to join after you graduate. So for example, if you're an accountant, your professional industry association may be CPA, Chartered Accountants, ACCA, or IPA. If you're a lawyer, it's the Law Society, and so on. Every profession has at least one of these. Now make sure you Google and find out yours, and then check out their website and see if you can attend at least one event in 12 months. Everyone at these events is already working in the industry. It's a great place for you to start and to really start finding out about job prospects. Remember, this is a networking event. Don't ask people for jobs straight away. Another place you could start is really your alumni network. So every university has an alumni activities calendar. Your alumni are the people who have been to the same university as you and now are really in the world of work. A few times of the year, your university will invite these alumni to events like speaker events or cocktails. Check out the event calendar on the university website and see if you can attend at least one event a year, so in 12 months. The people attending the event share the same university as you and really most likely will want to help you get your career started. Once again, at these events, you're looking to build relationships, not get a job straight away. You also want to think about gaining relevant work experience. That's really highly valued in Australia, whatever field you're in. You might start work experience in part-time jobs like restaurants and shops. These do count because you learn communication and teamwork skills, amongst other things. You might also think about getting relevant work experience in your field. So for example, let's say you're studying accounting. Can you try to get some experience as a bookkeeper at an organization, even a small one, or even on campus? Or can you apply to be a treasurer at one of the clubs or societies on campus? Any and all experiences you get from things like this, as well as things like volunteering and internships, all count. The final thing you might like to do is to gain new skills by attending workshops. For example, you might attend an English conversation class to help you build and practice your English conversation skills. So the fourth bucket we're going to talk about is social media. This includes all the actions you can take on social media. So the first thing you probably might want to do is perhaps do a Google search of yourself and see what type of information pops up against your name. Most importantly, make sure nothing negative like bad pictures or a bad review that you've given, that they pop up when people search you. You also want to think about creating a professional LinkedIn profile for yourself. Now mine took about a week to create because there are a few things to create on your profile. But once it's up, it's like a 24/7 resume that comes up whenever someone searches you online. On your LinkedIn profile, ask people you've worked with, like your managers, your colleagues, to give you a recommendation. And it's also really important that you include a professional picture or a headshot. There are plenty of YouTube tutorials on how to effectively create a LinkedIn profile. Finally, think about the 3 words you chose for your professional brand that we talked about in webinar 1. And use these words as a guide as to how to create your LinkedIn profile. That's the impression you want to create. The final tip when it comes to social media is to really put your other social media profiles, like your Facebook, your Instagram, and Snapchat profiles on private, especially when you're job hunting. This is to avoid anything that employers or recruiters may interpret as negative if they view your profiles. Even something like a swear word on your wall could create the wrong impression, and they may not give you the chance to explain that mistake. They will just make a very quick judgment. So to be safe, just put it all on private. Now let's go to the 5th and final bucket, the advice and support bucket. If you're feeling like you're not sure about what to do career-wise or the next steps to get started, talking to someone also really helps. And it's also very normal to feel this way. A lot of people do. In Australia, there are a lot of people willing to help you. You just have to ask for it. So here are some sources of help. You might think about finding a mentor. So a mentor is someone that has experience. Generally, they're older than us and kind of have been there and done that. They can guide you from their experience, but they don't make the decisions for you. Now, a mentor could be a lecturer or a tutor at uni, could be someone from your family, or it could be someone like a manager you work with. You can even find a mentor on LinkedIn. Just be mindful that when you find a mentor, there aren't any rules as to how often you meet or anything like that. You could email them a few questions once a year, and that counts as mentoring. Also, be respectful of people's time. So contact them only when you have genuine questions you need help with, and don't expect them to give you a job. They're there to give you advice only. You might also want to talk to your careers office on campus. Their job, literally, is to prepare you for the job market, and they can help with things like resumes and interviews. They are a free resource and a great source of help. They really should be your first stop. You could also talk to your lecturers and tutors, or at least one of your favorite lecturers and tutors, and ask them for advice on career options and industry changes. Your lecturers are seen as experts in their own fields, so they are a great source of information for you. Finally, you might think about talking to people in your professional networks, especially in your current or previous jobs. So those were the 5 buckets. In summary, the written and text bucket, video and audio, face-to-face, social media, and asking for advice. As you can see, there are a lot of actions you can take, and you certainly don't have the time to do everything, and you're not expected to also. Instead, think of the bucket or category that's your favorite. For example, you might like writing, so stick to that. Part 2 is all about setting goals and really taking action. As a homework item, set 3 actions or think about 3 actions you can take in the next 6 months. Keep it really realistic and doable. For example, you might choose to create a LinkedIn profile, put your social media profiles like Facebook on private, and decide on attending one networking event at your professional industry association. Those are 3 actions. And really get into action, because you will be amazed at some of the rewards and benefits you get by actually doing things. This is how you market yourself and promote your professional brand and really create your own opportunities. These are also the things that will help you stand out and be noticed by employers. So to conclude this webinar, in part 1, we covered the 5 buckets or the 5 categories of actions. And in part 2, we just looked at 3 goals you want to take or you want to establish for yourself to do in the next 6 months. I want to finish off this webinar with a little note about this. The Upskill project through the Work Integrated Learning project is co-funded through Study New South Wales Partner Projects Program and the University of Newcastle. Study New South Wales is dedicated within the Department of Industry and focused on making the experiences of international students better, safer, and more enjoyable when they live and study in New South Wales. Study New South Wales supports partner projects that align with its objectives and are jointly funded and delivered with organizations in the international education sector. If you want more information about Study New South Wales, the website is on screen. Thanks for listening to this webinar. You can connect with me and the Frank team on our Facebook and LinkedIn channels. Thank you.